Hey everybody, I'm Dana. You already know who I am. So that's a good thing. I guess what I wanted to do is just come in and bring in just some, you know what, I'm gonna put this in gallery view. There we go. That's way better. I don't want to stare at myself. It's weird. Because I think a lot of times when we're talking about it's called, the whole situation is your brain as an organ, your mind as a mechanism. That's how I've been like talking about it. But I think a better analogy is a car and driver. Like your brain is the car and your mind is the driver. And I think a lot of times the only solutions that I've seen that are very popular are like, okay, well, for your brain as an organ, here's a medication, and for your mind as a mechanism, here's therapy, and that's it. And that's usually, and so I wanted to bring in just more of a holistic outlook on things. And so my goal is just to educate people on, hey, my mom's gonna be here, you guys. Yay. Um, so there goes my cool intro. Like, yeah, bring my mom in. The 40-year-old turns into an 8-year-old. I love it. Um, but I wanted to just connect on some things that have helped me in my own journey and also with my clients. So a little bit about my background. Hi, mom. I love you so much. I'm so glad you're here. Um, so a little bit about my background. So I'm a personal trainer and also have a certification in nutrition, but I'm also a certified brain health trainer, which is more like exercise physiology, and also a certified mental health coach. And so that's more mental health coaching. So those are some things that I do. What I don't do is I'm not a neurologist, so I cannot diagnose or treat or cure. I'm not a licensed therapist, so I'm not at liberty to help anybody with past stuff, things they need to work through with trauma or a licensed professional. I'll probably outsource if that's something that's not within my scope of practice. And I love working with other practitioners that have like an open air policy where I can actually learn about what my clients are going through and how I can help them. I love working with other practitioners because I want to treat the whole person, not just a problem. I don't want to treat the symptom. I want to treat the cause. And a lot of times the cause can come from a bunch of different ways. And so that's kind of my view on things is like I just want to add value as much as I can. And then you guys take what you like and leave the rest. We might go over a lot of stuff and it might be a little overwhelming. And so you can just pick what you like, take what you like and leave the rest. And if you have any questions, obviously you can ask me. And if it's beyond my scope, I'll probably say, I don't know, let me find out for you. Or here's a person you can go to. Just because these are people's lives. Like, I don't want to pretend like I know everything. I just want to tell you what I know and hopefully it'll serve somebody. Um, so my goal, yeah, it's just like I want people to have hope. I want people to understand that there's so much that you can do for your own brain health as an organ. So you're taking care of your car, and your mind as a mechanism. So you're taking care of your driver. Because a lot of times we'll go down the road and we're like, why is my car not working right? And now we're upset and the car is not really working the way it's supposed to. So there are some things we can do as far as taking care of our brain as an organ, taking care of that vehicle so that we can drive it appropriately. So I like mind your mental. So that's the whole theme. So mental is movement, emotions, nutrition, time, aspirations, and lifeline. And I got a little fancy, so we can go into. I made a little Canva, you guys. I love Canva. I don't know if you guys have ever used it, but it's awesome. All right. And can everybody see what I'm seeing? Yes?
Yep, roger that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. All right. And I like this little brain picture with the scaffolding so that you can actually build and repair. What's really cool is people are like neuroplasticity and you can grow your brain, but nobody tells you how or why. And so what I like is that all of these things we have power over um, to a certain extent. Now, just like a car, you can try and push it down the freeway, but if you don't give it the right kind of gas, like you're not going to get very far, right? And if there's something busted on your car and you're trying to drive and you've got great emotions or whatnot, but you don't know where you're going and you don't have your aspirations, you're probably just going to be wandering, right? If you don't have a roadmap and people to help you go through, you don't have your lifeline. So all of these work in conjunction with movement and emotions and nutrition and time. A lot of times people will be like, I know I need to exercise more, but I really don't feel like it. I have no motivation. So we need to give them skills as far as their emotions and tools, because I think tools and skills are very different. But they work hand in hand. Like you can use a tool, but you're not very skilled at it until you use it a lot. Kind of like the knowledge, everybody says knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is power. Knowledge doesn't really get you anywhere. Like applied knowledge is power. The other thing too is if you're feeding your body a lot of things that are going to bog your body down, you're putting the wrong kind of gas in your car, you're not going to get much movement out of it. And your emotions might be all over the place, right? And then how are you going to manage your time? So I like that all of these kind of work together. And so we'll move right along. So I want to talk about movement first. So movement is incredible. Movement is incredible. Both physically, you're going to get some muscle change, which is great. Physiologically, you're looking at all of, well, not all of them, but these are some major neurotransmitters that are that happen during exercise movement. So like when you're actually exercising, you are changing physiological things in your brain. You're secreting different hormones, different chemical cascades, which is fantastic. And then psychologically, when you're moving, you just get a self-esteem boost because you did the thing that you said you were going to do, right? And so when we talk about endorphins, those are your feel good hormones. Those are usually released like during physical activity, and it actually helps reduce pain. So when people say they like have a runner's high, I'm like, good for you. I ran one half marathon in my life and I have zero desire to do that ever again. And I just don't want to do it. It was a lot. But I will say, when you do long standing cardiovascular exercise, that's usually when endorphins come up, right? So if you want to like feel good, you want that runner's high, you want to have that like euphoria or whatnot, running might be a good thing. Maybe a spin class, something like that. That might be really helpful to like boost your mood. Dopamine, everybody's chasing that these days, and everybody's talking about it on sugar and social media and things like that, and it's associated with reward and pleasure, and so that does increase during exercise, and we'll talk about all of these later as far as it goes with emotions. But right now with movement, you can actually increase your dopamine during exercise, and that actually raises your motivation. So it's like if you're feeling unmotivated to move, the best thing you can do is move. I know it's the last thing you want to do, but it's the best thing you can do, because the more you move, the more you want to move. And so if you need an increase in dopamine, that's what you want to do for sure. Serotonin is a little bit more for like an overall feeling of well-being, just being happy in your life. That's your happy chemical, if you will. And so this actually regulates your mood as well. And this is like during physical activity, and it kind of stays up for a little while. It doesn't have the usual crash. So the serotonin is actually a little bit more long-standing from my knowledge. And then if you're feeling like super sluggish, something competitive will help you with norepinephrine. So that's your fight or flight. Everyone thinks that's a bad thing, but it's fantastic if you're doing MMA, you're doing rock climbing, you're going to like a belaying gym, you're like learning a new skill. Maybe you're even doing like something like archery. That's still movement, and it's still that fight or flight. So it's going to increase your focus and increase your reaction time to things. So if you're like super sluggish, maybe you're studying for a test or something like that, doing something that's really high intensity or competitive, like HIIT workouts or something that's a competitive kind of situation, even if it's like, I know this is so silly, but even if it's a simple like speed card game that you play with your friends, that competitive nature is going to get you to focus. You might be able to study better. You might show up for that interview a little bit differently if you've got these neurochemicals going for you. And then BDNF. Not a lot of people talk about this, and I absolutely believe they should, because this is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So this is the kind of the building block of neurons. So when we're talking about brain plasticity, actually creating new brain cells and maintaining the ones that you have, it's a lot of times it's BDNF, and we don't talk about it a lot. I'm like, why? We only talk about like the first three. Nobody talks about BDNF, but it's so necessary to keep to keep your brain functioning really well. And so that actually stimulates the production of BDNF, is actually when you're doing exercise activity and you're doing it on a regular basis. So now you've got improved cognitive function. So all of that executive functioning that everybody's having a hard time with these days, BDNF, that's what you need for sure. And then norepinephrine to help you focus. But that can be helped so much with just growth with exercise. And then endocannabinoids. Yes, it is exactly what it sounds like. It mimics cannabis. and your body naturally secretes it. Your body naturally makes it. It does help with pain. It helps with mood regulation. It can kind of put the brakes on things. And that actually naturally occurs through exercise. And we'll talk later about some different movements that are going to help all of these neurotransmitters. But I think people only think about movement. They're like, oh, I'm supposed to exercise because it's good for my brain, but here's why. And you can actually select specific exercises for your specific brain, because everybody's brain is different and everybody's body is different. So for me, I'm not going to go play tennis. I have old lady knees, right? So if I want to do something competitive, it might be a little bit different for me. That might be a low impact, high interval training situation if I need that focus from norepinephrine. So that's where someone like a coach could really be helpful to kind of figure out what works for each person's body. And so does all that make sense? Cool. Anybody got any questions about movement and why that's necessary? Okay. And it's a tool. That's the other thing. It's like, it's a tool. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel so unmotivated. And then doing the movement, now you feel more motivated. Or like, oh, I'm feeling kind of sad. I'm feeling kind of depressed. Okay, well, let me do this kind of movement. And we'll talk about specific movements you can do for each one. But that's kind of movement. And the American Heart Association recommends, I believe it's 175 minutes of, or maybe let's say 150 minutes of physical activity a week. Y'all can do that. Y'all can absolutely do that. That could be a walk or yoga or tennis or stretching or foam rolling or going to like play, I don't know, where's everybody playing pickleball right now? But that's something that you can do with movement and making sure that's part of your routine and finding out where you are and where you want to go. That's what's necessary too. So I do want to talk about emotions a little bit. And this one, I'm going to stay within my scope of practice and within my knowledge, right? I'm not going to go backwards and be able to help somebody with their, if they were driving their car down their life, that's their brain. If they hit a bunch of potholes or they were in an accident previously, I may not be able to help them. However, if they're in a place right now where they've hit a pothole, I can come in, let's change the tire. Let's figure out how you can move forward. Talk to your therapist about what pothole you hit and how to avoid it. And then let's get you moving forward. So I'll talk about emotions in a way where it's coaching your present, moving into your future. And so I just want to stay within my scope of practice and just in full respect. So most of these come all together. We have so much power over your emotions than we're given credit. I love psychology. I love therapy. My therapist is awesome. But I think, ooh, this might ruffle some feathers. I think sometimes we will give so much power to the emotion that we will let the emotion dictate our actions. So if I'm feeling sad or just apathetic, I'm letting that decide my action. My action could be like I use a tiny bit of discipline to get myself outside so I can get on a walk. Then that is actually changing where that feeling is coming from. So we can use different tools to create skills to overcome the emotions. I love what my mentor said. She said, feelings are great indicators, but terrible dictators. So a feeling, an emotion, especially if it's coming up a lot, will be a great indicator. I need to look at that. I need to fix that. I need to assess. Like I love, am I hungry, angry, lonely, tired for females, period. Is it any of those? Can I solve that problem first? Right. And so I like empowering people because a lot of times our thoughts are the first thing that comes through. I don't want to. And then I feel that's just preceding a feeling. And now you've got the chemical cascade going on with the feeling. Right. And then if the feeling is repeated, that becomes a belief. So I don't want to. So I really feel lazy. I feel sluggish. I feel kind of defeated. And now the belief is, I don't think I can work out. And then the attitude, if I keep that belief over and over, and then the attitude is, I just suck at working out. I hate the gym. I hate movement. I hate all of the things. And then the personality becomes pretty much exercise avoidant. And so that's just one easy analogy that I like to use. And this could be a lot of things. But here's the thing, we could change almost every single piece of this with consistent work. It's not overnight, it's not a quick fix, and it's not to repress emotions. It's really to challenge the thought. It's to challenge the thought, is this true? and I love cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy for that, great practitioners for that. But I really want to challenge the thought. So if the thought is telling me like, yeah, I don't feel like working out today. Well, is that true? Maybe I don't feel like working out, but do I have to listen to my feelings? No, not necessarily. Okay, well, what are my aspirations? I really actually want to feel better. Would movement help me feel better? Yeah. So I should probably take the action then. So it's kind of walking myself through using those tools. The other thing about emotions is there are so many ways. So that will be a skill that you use in the moment. So I love emotional resiliency, but a tool is to get out ahead of it so you can be more proactive. So some tools that I love journaling, prayer, meditation, breathing, doing breath work, absolutely professional spiritual counseling, mindfulness, just being present in the moment, observing your thoughts like you're watching a mind movie. It's like you don't have to participate. You're not an actor in the scene. You're actually just watching the movie. When it gets dramatic, you just eat the popcorn. You do not have to respond. Like you can just let the thought complete the scene and move on with intention aligned with your values. I love gratitude lists. I practice looking for peace and looking for joy throughout the day. Um, and just honoring my emotions is absolutely wonderful too. So I'm not stuffing them down. I want to honor the emotion, but I want to kind of direct it. I've got all this momentum. Where do I want to take it? Do I want to move it towards where I want to be, or is it going to take me off track? But it's a really good thing to be able to do. And the other thing too is if I'm not managing my emotions and I'm in high levels of stress, everybody knows cortisol. So I'll just say cortisol because it's easier. But cortisol comes after a massive cascade of stress hormones that affects a lot of different systems in your body, your immune system, your central nervous system, even your digestive tract. A lot of that will be affected by your emotions. So 95% of our chronic illnesses in the US are caused by stress. Think cardiovascular, head trauma, things like that. And so if I can moderate what's going on in my mind, if I can moderate and use my skills and my tools for my emotions, I'll lower my level of cortisol. Because the other thing too is that causes a lot of brain inflammation. And like your car is not going to do well if it's overheating all the time. So I need to be a mindful driver so I'm not constantly overheating my car. Does that make sense? Cool. I like it. Because I think they're just indicators of what's going on in my internal environment. And that might be, having that feeling first. Then you can use the thought to kind of change the feeling and it goes around the wheel. Or you can be identifying limiting beliefs. And then you can go back and change that thought, change the feeling, change the belief, and slowly start shifting your attitude, which is phenomenal. I've done so much growth. Guys, I'm radically transformed because of this work, and I hope it's of value to you. And it's hard to summarize, but it's so important to do this work so you can have some freedom in yourself and in your life. And so, but they're great. Emotions are wonderful. They're so necessary. They are God given to show us where we're at internally and what's our response to our external environment. But I want to empower you that emotions aren't necessarily the driver. Like you are the driver. You get to control your emotions. Make sense? Awesome. So I want to talk a little bit more about emotions as well as far as nutrition as well. Wait, we'll talk about neurotransmitters first. All right. So if you want to get ahead of your emotions, so that would be using your tools. There's also tools, there's skills. Here are some things that you can do specifically for these neurotransmitters. So if you feeling kind of sluggish or even if you're anxious and you need some dopamine, if you're anxious, dopamine actually is wonderful to like put the brakes on anxiety, which is phenomenal. I'm like, please, I need some of that. So exercise, creative pursuits. So I'll play my guitar, I'll doodle. I have little coloring books. Favorite foods are awesome for dopamine as well. We'll talk about nutrition in a minute. Music is everything. Like listening to music will absolutely shift my mood. So if I'm in a mood, I feel like I can't take action, I'll actually use music as a tool to get me moving in the right direction because it will shift my mood. Y'all ever listen to like a really chill song and all of a sudden you're chill? But then you put on like the old emo stuff and you want to like call your ex-boyfriend from like fifth grade. Okay, that's a little extreme. You get it. You get it though. But hobbies. Here's the other thing that I love about dopamine. Dopamine, we end up running to easy fixes to get dopamine so that we feel better, right? But it's kind of cheating. Like you get the chemical without doing the work for it. And so we keep going back to the thing that gives us the easy way out, right? It's kind of like choosing the junk food over having to cook a meal. But when you set and you achieve small goals, you get lasting dopamine. It's not a fast uptick, and it's not a big crash, because now you've actually attached it to an action. So not only do you get the chemical happy spot, the physiological, now you get the psychological, because you actually put action towards it. Now you're getting the character development because you've developed your character. Now you have a skill. You're using that skill to actually overcome. And I love that so much. It's so empowering. Serotonin, sunlight is super important. And I like to do this in November. So in the morning, try and get out in the morning, get some sunlight in your eyes and on your skin for at least like 10-15 minutes if you can. But first thing in the morning, this is going to help with sleep later, which we'll talk about. Regular exercise will have that mood regulation, right? Meditation, mindfulness. I'm going to talk about some apps. I use Insight Timer as a meditation app. It's free. There's like 30,000 something free meditations. Mindfulness is just being present instead of thinking about what I just did, what I could have done differently, and what I have to do earlier, like later. I just be mindful. Time in nature is super important. People are talking about grounding. That's really trendy these days. So like, awesome. Go put your feet in some sand or on some dirt, sit on the grass, do it. Like, that's going to help you for a lot of different reasons. And then foods with tryptophan, y'all, turkey. Everybody's like, turkey makes you sleepy. Yes, but it also helps you create serotonin. So tryptophan is one of the building blocks of serotonin. So that might actually help you. Epinephrine. So those like fight or flight, like adrenaline, if you will. High intensity training, sprinting sports, competition, games. Actually, games are really helpful too. So if you have like game night with your friends, that's actually going to increase your focus. So playing a game before you do some studies is actually a good idea. And then balancing those stress with breathing. So you've got too much epinephrine, you might want to balance and kind of counterbalance that with like more breathing exercises to get your central nervous system from that fight or flight into rest or digest. Oxytocin, I like this one because it's more community. It's that love hormone, if you will. And so physical touch, that could honestly, I know this sounds so cheesy, but sometimes I will literally just like kind of hang out like this because I'm giving myself like a little hug. I know it sounds weird. I don't care. It works. That could be literally hugging somebody. I think there was a study done about 7 seconds, like 7 seconds of an actual hug will change the rhythm of your heart. There are 40,000 neurons in your heart that respond to your external and internal environment. And that changes with physical touch with another human. We are made for connection. That is God-given. It's so good. Petting and playing with pets. So everybody here's a dog lover. So if you're feeling lonely, go play with your dog. Acts of kindness, positive social activities, go be of service. That's going to help your oxytocin levels, not only as a brain, but as a mechanism. Not just your car changing the chemicals, giving you some good oil, some good transmission fluid. Now you've also got the driver doing some like positive stuff. Now you've got some like positive self-esteem. You've deposited in that self-esteem bank, which is great. And then groups are fantastic for brain health for a bazillion different reasons. And so that's emotions. There's so many different things that you can do. I'm going to talk about some apps a little bit later that you can use to regulate emotions as well. There's a great app called Neurocycle. It's a little pricey, but it's been phenomenal to rewire my brain. No joke. All right, let's talk about food, y'all. And not just food, but brain food. So these are some really good things specifically for brain health. So you can read through that for sure. The way I work with my clients is there's no such thing as good food and bad food, because that just induces a lot of shame. And then you've got your driver all messed up. You can't take care of your car and your driver's all feeling bad because they didn't put the right fuel in the car. Instead, there's regular food, sometimes food, and rare food. And usually with my clients, I'll decide like how many of those meals are regular, how many are sometimes, and how many are rare. Just that way it gives you so much more of a gentle way of adjusting things and sets you up for success with your goals. So I actually have a menu. If you guys want it, you can totally send me a text. I have a menu of like a 7-day low carb, dairy-free, gluten-free, brain health meal plan as a suggestion. If you want that, you can totally shoot me a text after this. But this really matters. Like having good, healthy fats helps every single synapse in your brain. There are lots of fruits. So fruits have antioxidants in them. And so that actually staves off the oxidization. So it's keeping your brain cell alive. which is great. Vegetables, same kind of thing. And they and also fruits like oh, I didn't put bananas on there. Bananas are really good for dopamine too. And BDNF, which is great. Sometimes BDNF can come from meat sources, although I'm not really high on the red meat situation, just because of long term high red meat stuff can cause heart issues a little bit later if they're not lean. But I don't like to be too persnickety. I'm just like, just enjoy your food. Vegetables are fantastic. So lots of research coming out about mushrooms in general, because of like they're adaptogenic, so it staves off brain fatigue. And some things, like herbs, there are I actually take rhodiola and lemon balm. So rhodiola is an it's a natural anti-anxiety, antidepressant, antioxidant. So it's really helpful to help with brain synapses. Ginkgo biloba is really good for memory and attention. So there's a lot of supplements that you can take for sure. Turmeric is great for reducing inflammation, because your gut is incredible. I don't know if you guys knew this. 90% of your serotonin is found in your gut. Did y'all know that? And that's so funny. And so this shocked me when I started going through my nutrition programs and going to college and learning more about it. I was like, wait a second, I've never had a psychiatrist ask me about my nutrition. Not even once. And it is mind-boggling. Well, the information that we have now is very different. So, God bless them. I forgive them and move on. But the things that we're taught to put in our body and the things that are advertised are absolutely crazy. So, like carbohydrates, like high carbohydrates will cause more brain inflammation. I hate to say it because me and bread get along so well. I friggin' love gluten. You can ask my mama. They called me biscuit because I love bread. When I was growing up, I was biscuit. But it can cause a lot of inflammation. So, but I tried to win you back. I put dark chocolate on the carbohydrates, which are good for brain. So hopefully I got some cred back. But a lot of times, like sugary sodas, there was one study that I read that one soda will bring your thyroid's efficiency down to 5% for 18 hours. Isn't that wild? It blew my mind. I was like, that just one soda. And so our we can't put crappy fuel in our car and expect it to drive well. So taking a look at nutrition is super, super helpful. Just trying to add some of these things in. I also have a really great study on just specifically how sugar affects folks with anxiety, depression, ADHD, people with cognitive decline. So I also work with people who have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, things like that. So I put them on a nutritious diet. I give them a diet plan specifically for their brain. But I have a lot of information on if you need to stave off sugar and you need to know why. I've got some information that I can send you, and I'll send that to you. That way, it'll help you kind of just start weaning yourself off of the refined sugar, so that your brain can function better. Because if you're trying to get a hold of your emotions and you're feeding your car, like you're trying to get a hold and be like a calm driver, and you're giving your car like a bunch of nitrous oxide, you're not going to be able to calm down and drive nicely. Like you got to be able to put the right fuel in. So hopefully that makes sense. And so I'm going to be a total jerk for a minute. So your nutrition also includes your input. What are you digesting visually, audibly? Like how much time are you spending on social media? How do you feel when you're done feeding yourself that way? Be very aware. How do you feel when you're on social media? How do you feel afterwards? How do you sleep afterwards? And in this perfect season right now, how much time are you spending on the news? How much time are you actually talking about some really challenging issues? Can you regulate yourself after listening to the news or having a challenging political conversation? Like what kind of input, what kind of that's also brain food. So how are you responding to that? How are you taking care of your brain in that moment? It's really necessary, because again, we're having a lot of high cognitive load with challenging ideas and beliefs that's going to raise that cortisol level. So which is fine. You need that for fight or flight, stress, focus, have a really good debate, and then use some tools to bring yourself back down. But I have a client and her husband will sit with the iPad in bed until like 1 o'clock in the morning watching the news. And he wonders why he can't sleep. Like, there's a lot of reasons for that, sir. And so your nutrition also includes what are you digesting mentally. So that's just something. Also could be, who you're spending time around too. So if there are some people in your life that are really causing you a lot of stress, either limit your time with them, talk to your therapist about how to do that, or just really get some tools on the back end so you can front load and back, and you can front load your skills, hang out with that person, and then back load, because we're coming up to family time. My family's awesome, so I'm super grateful I don't have to worry about that much. But sometimes you need to prepare yourself before you go and ingest some family time, because we're coming up on holidays. So hopefully that's helpful. And a lot of times for tracking nutrition, if you wanted to, there's a lot of apps that you can do that with, like MyFitnessPal. You can write it down. You can take a picture of your food if this is an area where you want to improve. You can follow a meal plan. There's a lot of programs that you can do. I coach people through that and write programs for people all the time, which is great. And then water, y'all. Water is everything. Like water, if you don't have water, it's like not putting oil in your car. Like you might be able to go, but you're going to break down. And there's, if you do not have water, you're not going to be able to do the movement. You're not going to be able to do the emotions. You're not going to be able to manage your time effectively. So hydration, we don't talk about it enough. It is literally the messenger for every single chemical reaction in your body. So it's like you're trying to send the messenger to go do the thing in your body, but if you're dehydrated, it's not going to happen, or it's going to happen so slowly that you're not going to get the best benefit. So hydration is super important. So we can all make sense so far? Cool. And then, like I said, there's a lot of things. So we'll talk about time. So time, I think, how do you guys do with time? Like, we're awesome at managing our time. We're not so great at managing our time. We're kind of so-so. Kind of so-so. Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Love the honesty. I appreciate you guys so much. So wherever your time goes, that's where your mind goes. And I love that so much. So I was not a very organized person. My mom could probably tell you. Growing up, I was just kind of like, there's clothes all over the floor, and I'm trying to go here and go here and go here. And I was always busy and always going somewhere, but I'd be somewhat forgetful, or I'd double book myself, or I just fly by the seat of my pants and I'm wondering why I'm stressed out. If I don't know what my priorities are, that's why it's all the way on the left. That's very first, is like, decide what your priorities are. Where you spend your time is where your heart is. So I can say that, my priorities are, my health and my family, but yet I'm spending all of my time focused on work and projects, and maybe, trying to numb out at the end of the day. And I'm not prioritizing the things that actually give me a better return on my investment for the rest of my time. So finding out what your values are. I did an entire hour with my cousin, actually, on getting her a time blocking system. So figuring out what your priorities are, then let's put them in a system where you can follow it, something that actually works for you. I have an app, I have a calendar, I have a planner. It's all color coded. I didn't start there. I just started out with like a simple to-do list, and it expanded from there. But finding systems that work for you, I think it's really challenging, especially if anybody's experiencing ADHD. Their experience of time is a little bit different. So finding a system that works for them it's different. I've definitely had to adjust some things, and figuring out what that works for you. And then routines will help the rest of your time. And routines take the thinking out of doing. So it's like, I need to do, those are those things that I need to do. If you have a morning routine, it's going to set you up. In order for me to do my morning routine, I have to do my evening routine. So my night routine is actually more important than my morning routine, because if I don't do my night routine, my morning's not happening. So every single night before bed, because I want to know that when I get in bed, I'm totally done with my day. I want to go over my calendar. What am I supposed to do for the next day? Write down anything that I need to get done. So that way, when I go to bed, I'm not thinking about it. It's already done. And I don't have to remember. That's the other thing. We put our brains under so much stress when we're thinking about the 47 other things we're supposed to do for the rest of the week. Whereas if I just take like maybe 15 minutes, that's it, 15 minutes at night to look at the rest of my week, time block things out, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to remember it. I know exactly when I'm going to do that thing. So I can let go, and I can literally be present, and it reduces so much stress on your brain, and it's so, so helpful. And also having some flexibility. So if you're tracking your time, you're blocking it out, that's awesome. There might be times where life comes at you friggin' sideways and there's nothing you can do about it. So having some room for flexibility is super necessary for managing stress and keeping the stress off of your brain. And there might be some things that you move around. I'll just give you an example. So there are some things, like my calendar is pretty organized and color coded, but these are like little sticky notes. So I can actually like pick them up and like move them. I'm like, nope, didn't have time for that today. And I can just pick it up and move it. So that way I'm not if the thing is flexible, like thank God that it doesn't have to be so rigid. Cause I used to shame myself if I didn't get everything done that I wrote down. Like, that's not helpful either. I'm still like beating up my car. Why? Why am I like putting stress on my brain? But time is really helpful. I did an entire hour with my cousin Candace, and we got her some systems. She actually took it traveling with her, and she said it reduced her stress. I'm excited to get her testimony. I was hoping I would see her today, but she's got some other stuff going on. I was going to have her share with you guys about how that was helpful, because we actually wrote down, what are your values? What are your priorities? How do you order your priorities? What does your time look like? Can you give yourself breaks in between, things like that? And then also there are some other apps. If you want to really find out where you're spending your time, open up your phone, go to settings, and go to screen time. And you'll identify how much time you're spending on social media, how much time you're spending on games, things like that. And it will definitely be eye-opening. I think a lot of people have been like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. You also can set screen limiters. So like, I can't be trusted on social media. I'll look, like 2 hours will go by and I've looked at baby goats in pajamas and have done nothing with my day. So I put screen limiters on there so I can be on there for 15 minutes. That's my thing. Because I also don't want to be on social media wasting my time on the things that aren't going to get me where I want to go. However, I like it as a tool. I like it for oxytocin, so I'm connecting with my friends and family. I know what's going on. I like it for a little bit of dopamine, because I'm like, yay, I got to celebrate with that person. Serotonin, maybe I just watched some really cute puppies. So it's a helpful tool to get me moving. If I don't feel like moving, I'm like, okay, I'll give myself my 15 minutes. I'll use that to shift my mindset and shift my chemical balance. Now I'll go do something else. So I can use it as a tool as long as it's not as long as it's not antisocial. If it's pro-social, awesome. All makes sense so far? Cool. So super helpful. And again, I know this is a lot of information. You don't have to manage every single one of these things. Just I might send out a poll and see where biggest area of opportunity lies for everybody. So aspirations. I think this is the biggest thing that people will just go by default of like the next step. We'll just do the next indicated step, which is so lovely. I'm like, that will help you be so present. But I also want to, as a coach and seeing people progress, if you don't know where you're progressing to, you might not take the steps necessary, or you go at a pace that's not going to get you where you want to go. And also, I think aspirations in those moments when you really, really don't feel like doing that thing you need to do, knowing why you're doing it might actually get you to move. So having some goals that are very well thought out. And I like Atomic Habits. It's a great book. And I said literally like atomic, like an atom, not like a bomb. Like it's not a huge thing. It's tiny, tiny little habits will actually get you to where you want to go. A lot of times I'll have clients write out, like this is more of a life coaching session that I do with people, figuring out their goals and their values. And like, let's figure out like, what is that A game life? And then maybe we can reverse engineer it and give you stepping stones and give you some practices that will actually get you there. Sometimes we'll set goals and then we fail and we shame ourselves because it was an unrealistic expectation. So somebody that just has not worked out in years and they want to go work out, I'm like, okay, well, they think they have to go to the gym and go work out. I'm like, what if you just put on your shoes tomorrow? And that's success. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right, well, next time let's put on your shoes and let's sit down, stand up 5 times. Do that every day for a week. And they're like, okay. And now they've got that self-esteem. They actually believe in themselves. Because what happens is when we set a goal and we tell ourselves we're going to do it and then we don't do it, we lose trust with ourselves. And then you lose trust with yourself. You lose belief in yourself. Then you start to lose hope. Oh my gosh, there's a terrible study. I feel so bad because I'm such an animal lover, but there was a study done with mice. It was, the whole theory was hope. And they put these mice in containers. One was totally covered. It was all black with water. And the mouse drowned in 3 minutes. And the other mouse, there was one hole in the top of the container. So it was a little bit of light shining through. That mouse lasted 36 hours. 36 hours because there was hope. Like 3 hours to 36 hours is wild. So having an aspiration, having a reason why you're doing something might actually get you to hang on just one more time. Having somebody walk you through and have your goals laid out before you, specific to you, that's going to help you a lot too. So I love books like Atomic Habits. The One Thing is really helpful. Start with Why is another really great book. And vision boards, I love tools for this. Like I love vision boards, having it in front of me all the time. Like I've got sticky notes all over the place. I've got a whole vision fridge if my little divider wasn't up here. But without a goal, and I don't know where I'm going, I don't have a destination, right? So my car is just kind of wandering, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. If that is your goal, to not have a goal, then awesome, you're succeeding. But having a goal and a direction will give you a direction, and then your activity will dictate the speed. And that really comes down to like, how quick are you to change? How quick are you to adapt? What does that pace look like that's healthy for you? And so like I've radically transformed by setting goals. And what's so funny, this is the other thing about goals that a lot of people don't talk about. Setting a goal and like a date on that goal isn't to hit that goal on the date. It's to give you a direction. So that way, when you know you're off a little bit, you'll course correct and you'll keep going towards that true north. That's the point of setting a goal and putting a timeline on it, because it kind of helps you dictate your speed and how to reverse engineer that goal and what steps you need to take in what order and in what time frame. You never hit the goal with the timeline you put on it. You just don't. I wish more people would talk about that, because we always beat ourselves up because we didn't hit the goal in the same time that we set it. So I love people to be gentle. And so I like these steps. Define what success looks like to you and each of your priorities, like list your priorities in order. So a lot of people didn't have me write down my values. They didn't have me write down my goals. And then choose SMART goals. So that would be specific. Sorry, my printer is deciding it wants to do a stretch. So better? Good? Printer yoga. I don't know if that's loud. I'm so sorry. So specific, measurable, attainable, reasonable, and timely. Those are SMART goals. And then I love to set up a just in case plan. So I know in the South, they have weather. So I'm like, all right, you're going to go on a walk tomorrow for their exercise. And I'm like, okay, well, just in case it rains, what's your backup plan? So that way you can't say, look, oh, couldn't work out. It was raining outside. I'm like, okay, well, what's your backup plan? So that's really helpful too. And then test, adjust, and then test again. Go, just drive the car. If it didn't work, let's adjust and let's get back in the car and drive again. We'll find something that works. You've got to have grace, not judgment. Don't shame yourself. I've never seen anybody beat themselves down into their goal. You have to lift yourself up. And then getting an accountability partner, whether that's somebody that's on the journey with you, if it's a fitness challenge, or your roommates, if they're going to do the nutrition with you. Maybe you get a coach specifically for your life, or for mental health. Maybe that's a therapist, where you have like somebody that's holding you accountable to the goals that you set. And that brings me to my last portion, is your lifeline. Like, who's on your team? Who's actually helping you? A lot of people have folks in their life that they reach out to a lot. I've seen people that are like, I have people in my life, but I never reach out to them. I probably should. And that ties into time. If you schedule time to reach out to people, my mom knows I call her every Sunday after church. I call my brother on Fridays. Like, I just have times where I reach out to people. But my lifeline is super necessary, and knowing who these people are for what purpose, right? Like, I'm not a neurologist. I can't diagnose anyone who has cognitive decline if they have Parkinson's or dementia. So I'm going to refer out, but I'm a brain health trainer. So now I can create a physical fitness program to help them with their cognitive decline. I also work with people in the recovery field that are dual diagnosis, or they have experienced anxiety, depression, ADHD, maybe a traumatic brain injury. I can create a fitness program specifically for their brain to start developing more chemicals in the way that's going to help them be healthy, and to create more more synapses. So actually changing the structure of their brain. Also working with like a nutritionist. I'm a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. So if it's something to do with like your specific levels of vitamins and things like that, a dietitian might be better. If you have a lot of nutrition restrictions, that might be somebody that's licensed to do that. So the above part is kind of taking care of your car. Your brain is the organ. That's the physical stuff. Actually changing your brain as an organ. Now below, that's your mind as a mechanism, or the driver. So that might be somebody like a therapist or a licensed counselor. Those people can help you with any kind of trauma or past things that you're really struggling through, or something that's really got you blocked from your past. A mental health coach can actually come in between and work with your present and get you going towards the future if you're experiencing any mental health challenges. And so that's been really helpful for some clients that they're moving into that spectrum with me as I just got certified to do that. I'm so excited about it. I love the impact of helping people overcome limiting beliefs and setting up structures for them to help heal their brain. It's awesome. And then spiritual advisors, you don't have to have my belief system at all, but I definitely meet with my pastor. You can have a rabbi, a spiritual advisor, you can go meditation guru, whatever that is for you. Um, but I find that when I sit down and I actually talk about this, like the actual spiritual side of, there is an actual God spot in your brain, by the way. There's so much research, like you should look it up, like the God spot in the brain and how that works. It's incredible. We are designed that way, and so it's wonderful. But it does help answer some of those questions that maybe, the physical and the emotional can't answer. There are some spiritual things, like I highly encourage figure that out. And then community groups can be anything. That could be a church, that could be a yoga situation, that could be a 12-step program, that could be just like any kind of community processing team, that could be a treatment facility, it could be a million different things. It could be a pickleball league, it could be a bowling group, like whatever that community is going to be. We are made for connection. I believe we were created for connection. Where man is not, it's not a man good for, it's not good for man to be alone. So community is absolutely necessary. And then there are specific friends and family that I go to for specific things. Like if I need encouragement, I can go to my mom. If I need to get my butt kicked into gear, I go to my mentor, I go to my coach. There are specific friends, like my best friend, I can go to her for spiritual matters for sure. And then also if I need somebody, there's something called body doubling. If there's something I really don't want to do, I'm like, hey, best friend, will you be like on FaceTime with me while I fold my laundry? I really don't want to do it. Like if you just keep me company, that's awesome. It's such a helpful tool to have somebody body double you. So just knowing who is on your team will help you. That way, when you have that moment, and write that out previously, because that way, if you're in a place where you're really, really down, or you're really, really anxious and you're like, crap, who do I call? And your mind isn't functioning. The driver of the car is erratic. You need to find that list. Who's going to help you drive the car? Who's going to help you calm back down? Who's going to help you lift yourself back up and find hope and encouragement, and find that person that's on your lifeline so that you can actually move forward. And just knowing. And so I know a lot of, I do actually want to do a 30-day community intensive for brain and mental health. And so I think that's an offer I'm going to work on as well, because I already have the program fleshed out. I'm really excited about it, and just do it like a once a week kind of Facebook group where everybody hops on Facebook. We talk about what worked, what we can adjust, and what we're looking forward to. And I have a whole workbook that I've created. It's super cute. It's all branded and everything. And I think it's going to be transformational for some people that might not be able to afford a one-on-one. It might be a lot more affordable to do a 30-day group intensive. And I also want to do a 6-week one-on-one radical transformation for people who are really ready to take that leap. And not everyone is, and that's okay. Or they have a lot of other practitioners and they have all the tools they need. Awesome. I just want to know that I created a program and then I offered it to people. And if they want to pick it up, awesome. And I always do it like a discovery call first to see if it's a good fit to do the one-on-one work together, because I might not be the practitioner for everyone. I just know that the work that I've done and what I've put together has been just radically changed my life. And I'm so, so grateful. So lastly, I want to talk about the resources that we discussed here. So some books that might help you with the driver of the car. Atomic Habits is great for setting small goals and understanding that every tiny thing that you do is a success. Start with why might get you really rooted in what your values are. The one thing is great for helping you time block and really prioritize your time. Mindset will help you get stuck from a fixed mindset, this is how I am, I'm not going to change, to a growth mindset of like, I believe I can change, I'm going to take small steps to do that. If you want help with nutrition for brain health, Think and Eat Yourself Smart is awesome. It's by Dr. Caroline Leaf. She's actually a neuroscientist and a psychologist. She also wrote Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess. So that's dealing with the driver of the car as well as the car. So she actually helps you rewire your brain. You're actually building synapses. I love that woman. There are some apps. She actually has an app called Neurocycle. It's not free. Super helpful though. And then other things, if you have an iPhone, you can go into your health app and it'll tell you how many steps you've taken. You can track your menstrual cycle. There's also a frame of mind. There's like a mental health tab on the new update on the iPhone. I'm so excited about that. You can actually track your moods. I highly recommend doing that just for a week, and maybe making note of what time of day that happened as well. And you'll start identifying your patterns. Know yourself to grow yourself. For exercise, there's Fit On is a really great app for exercise. It's pretty free. Insight Timer is great for meditation. MyFitnessPal is great for tracking nutrition. And then of course I have coaching programs that I want to do as well. But just having support has been everything. Me trying to do this on my own was very frustrating because I didn't know what to do. And I didn't have a lot of people helping me. And I just saw the silliest little video. And it was, oh, this is so bad. It was basically the character flaw of I get to do everything by myself. And this is how it's going to go is I do everything myself. And it was like a picture of a coffin rolling down the street. It was like, I'm just going to take care of this myself, guys. Don't worry about it. I was like, oh my gosh. But it was so case in point. But that, I don't know if you guys want to, I've tried to leave it up so you guys could screenshot if you wanted to. But that's what I've got to offer today. I do want to leave room if anybody has questions. I know that was a lot of information and I just talked right at you guys. So hopefully it made sense. Is there any questions about any of that you guys have as far as movement, emotions, nutrition, time, aspirations, lifeline? Or anything to add too? Because you guys might know something I don't know. I'm open to learning.
What would you say your easiest little habit to do that improves your mood is? Because like I'm a college student and I feel like when I get really busy, I don't always focus on myself and like fueling my car properly. Um, so is there any like little things that are easy that like you can do every day?
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be, I'd probably put that in the emotions category is what I would typically do. There are so many. I'm going to scroll back up and see what I've got. So sometimes if I'm going to go from like 0 time to I've created some time. So 0 time breathing. I love box breathing, especially if I'm stressed out. So breathing in for 4. We can all do it. Y'all want to do it? Try and sit up or stand up or whatever, but all through your nose. So you actually take in 30% more oxygen when you use just your nose to breathe, which is awesome. So just through your nose, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. And you can do that as many times as you want to, but that's box breathing. So it's like 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold. That will slow down your nervous system because what happens a lot of times when we get emotional is we'll go from that prefrontal cortex that is all this is your decision making, your strategic planning, your focus, your attention, your memory. That's executive function. When we get overwhelmed, that can kind of start to break down. We'll go back to our amygdala, which is our emotional center, and then we can't have access to all of the functioning. And that's that fight or flight. That's where you're getting the epinephrine, the norepinephrine situation. So if you can get yourself to calm your nervous system down, it'll actually open the door back up to your executive functioning office. So box breathing is super helpful. So that's if you have a little bit of time. Another thing that I like to do in between things that I have. So I have one client, I go to my car, I release tension and set intention. So I release tension from whatever I was doing. If I need to write stuff down from the last thing that I was doing so I can put a bow on it and I'm done. Because I don't want to be thinking about 47 things. It's too much on my brain. It causes a lot of inflammation. So if I can release tension, write everything down, set my intention. What do I need to be doing for the next hour? How do I need to show up? What's my goal for the next hour? That will actually reduce all of the crazy activity that's going on in my brain and help me to focus and be present. Now my nervous system is back online. I'm not super emotional. And because I've gotten myself to that place, it's actually just a self-esteem boost because I just use my skills and I'm doing better. So those are some things that I do that when I don't have a lot of time that I can just integrate. Some things that I do proactively is I do a gratitude list. I pray, I sing, and I do a gratitude list every morning. I'm not perfect at it, but those are the things that prime my mind. If I'm going to start my day off with something, I want to prime my mind with the right chemicals so I can move on through the day. Because if I wake up immediately and my first thought is I didn't sleep enough, I don't have enough time, maybe I should snooze, and now I've hit the snooze, I didn't get out of bed, I'm feeling bad about it. I literally just woke up in a lack mentality and I'm dreading the day. And I've done that so many times. But if I can wake up and the first thing, this took so much practice. That means going to bed thinking like, I'm going to wake up and say thank you. I want the very first thing out of my mouth to be thank you. And that practice alone has helped me tremendously too. It's like, how am I going to bed? When I wake up, I'm like, okay, thank you so much that I'm alive. I have 2 legs, that I can breathe. And then I'm setting myself up with a good chemical, and I'm going to be able to focus for the rest of the day. So gratitude lists are really helpful. And then something that I think is really fun is a concept called a joy jar. So I have this little, I don't know, it's just an imaginary jar. And if I'm going through the day and I see something that brings me joy, I'm going to put it in my jar. So anytime I see Roxy, I see the little dogs, or I see a beautiful flower, or I see like a couple holding hands, or some kids laughing, or somebody like trying to stumble over their dog leash or whatever, and I think it's cute, I'll put it in my joy jar. So later, when I'm feeling like, I don't want to do that, I will take a sip out of my joy jar. Remember that dog? That was really good. Oh, remember that beautiful orchid that I saw and I sent that picture to my best friend? That was really good too. And I'll take a sip out of my joy jar. And so it's just kind of giving myself those chemicals that I need to get my brain functioning. So those are some things that I use throughout the day that are like super easy, don't need any like physical tools for. Is that helpful?
Thank you. Yeah, super helpful, especially
Okay.
the gratitude one. I feel like being grateful and reminding yourself what there is to be grateful for is so grounding, and it kind of resets like
Yes.
anxiety. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the psychology behind it is beautiful, but the
Mhm.
physiological part of it is fascinating.
Yeah.
If you go to Google Scholar and you type in like meta-analysis studies of gratitude lists, it's like, or of just gratitude practice.
Mhm.
It's mind-blowing. It is
Mhm.
mind-blowing, and just how much that actually changes the chemicals in your brain. You're changing neurosynapses, like it's just phenomenal. So gratitude is awesome. And you can actually have a buddy for that too. I know for a long time, for years, I had a gratitude list that I would send to people, whether that's like a sponsor or a best friend or a roommate or something like that, or you write it on the whiteboard,
Mhm.
and people just add to it. It's really cool because then you're grateful, you're sending your list, and then you see what they're grateful for, and you're like, oh, I am grateful for power steering. I am grateful for air conditioning. That's a good point, you know? So that's pretty helpful too. Yeah. Anybody else? We got any
I
questions?
will add the you mentioned grounding. Me and my friends did a little bit of it, and I will say it is very relaxing. I don't know the benefits of it. Like, well, I mean, I know the benefits, but I don't know if I saw the benefits, but it was just very relaxing. And then also, and you did throughout a lot, so I don't know if you mentioned any detoxing, but that myself, especially like with like cellular issues, my brain, autoimmune, there we go, that word, autoimmune issues and other things, just helping to flush out the toxins and stuff in your system also helps to make you feel better. It gives you better mental clarity as well.
100%. And Jessica has done so much work and so much research, and she's a brain like me. And so she's absolutely right. And detoxing can be, it's so good. Like she's pretty advanced. So detoxing is phenomenal for somebody who's like really ready to make some big changes, because it's not easy. Like she's a beast. Like she's like willing to do the work, which is awesome.
Yep.
Thank you so much. You're awesome. Yeah, she's right. Very cool. Matt, you got any questions, comments, concerns? No? Cool.
Yeah, but all amazing stuff, guys.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, if there's any information that you want, any studies, apps, books, questions about programs that I offer later, like just shoot me a text. Happy to hop on a call, or just shoot back and forth text messages or emails, something like that. But I just want to make myself available. I don't know everything, but I know some stuff, so I want to share it. Awesome. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a beautiful
Yeah,
rest.
thanks, Dana. You are awesome, man. What a wealth of information today.
I
Jeez.
hope it wasn't too much.
I got a lot of work to do, man.
Take what you like and leave.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I might send out a poll so that you can kind of identify which area might be your greatest area of opportunity. And that might be a helpful situation for people.
If I can like an encouragement for Emily, I'm also a college student and mom and other like working full time. So I get you. Definitely make sure you take time for yourself, and it might, the workload might be there and you're stressing about papers and research, which my stuff's mostly done on the weekends now, but you've got to take time for yourself, because you'll lose yourself and then you'll go crazy and you won't be good to anybody, much less your schoolwork. So
Yeah.
speaking from experience here, and you look a lot younger than I do. So
You're awesome, Jessica. I love you. Awesome, guys. Well, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and you guys reach out for anything and everything.
You too. Bye,
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you.
Have a
right,
good day,
you got-
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Dana.
You got it.